How do cities plan for the unplanned? What are Boston's recovery plans for natural disasters like earthquakes and floods? What lessons can we learn about crisis preparedness from recent worldwide events? Asim Inam's book, Planning for the Unplanned, Recovering from Crises in Megacities, looks at successful crisis planning in Mexico City and Los Angeles. He's a fellow at the Center for Ethics and Transformative Values at MIT and teaches at Tufts University in the Urban Environmental Planning Department. Welcome, Asim.
Thank you for inviting me.
These past few months are filled with lots of news stories, one natural disaster after another, earthquakes in Haiti, Chile, China, now the volcano in Iceland. Who would have ever thought of that? And floods here in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Now, how do cities, large or small, prepare for the aftermath of one of these natural disasters?
That's a really good question. I think the most important thing to realize is that these crises are normal, that the earth is constantly changing. Earthquakes, volcanoes, floods happen all the time. And so in view of that, I think it's really important for cities to understand that it's not about controlling or conquering nature, but learning to live with it. So how does one respond to crisis as part of normal urban planning and policy?
Well, I think the human tendency is to go into panic mode when there's a crisis. How do you get through that crisis area of thinking and do some real planning?
A couple of ways. First of all is to understand how these crises occur, when and where they occur. A second way is to have what I call decentralized responsibility. Have people, families, neighborhoods be responsible for their own crisis response. In fact, one of the countries in the world that does it best is Cuba. And we don't know much about Cuba, but they have a hurricane season every year in the Caribbean, and they don't just throw money at the problem. I think that's something we have to avoid, just throwing billions of dollars at it, but understand how we can do it in a decentralized way. And another important part is now we know which areas of cities are vulnerable to floods, to earthquakes. And so we have to make some difficult trade-offs and not allow construction in those areas.
We're looking at some recent flood video from the New England area, but sometimes these natural disasters happen only once in a generation or once every other generation, so that institutional knowledge is lost.
Yes.
And people seem to start from scratch.
Exactly, and there's a parallel with Haiti that their last earthquake was 150 years ago. So they don't have the institutional memory. But now we do have better scientific knowledge of which areas are more vulnerable. And so how does one incorporate that knowledge into everyday planning? And I found that cities that do that tend to be the most successful.
You have a list of top 5 things cities need to do when dealing with these crises, and let's run through your list. The first thing you suggest is rapid action.
Right, and so because whenever there's a crisis, people want to feel that they're getting back to normal. So cities have to show that they're doing something about it.
Take action. We didn't see the president of Haiti on camera for weeks.
Exactly, excellent point. In fact, I was just in Haiti a few weeks ago, and the president is a good man, but they needed real leadership and somebody to rise to the occasion, and that was a big problem. So in fact, even symbolically saying we are working on this, we are going to get through this, is really important for people to hear.
Now you say also massive funding is needed, or?
Yes, you do need a lot of funding very quickly. So you have to know how to mobilize resources very quickly. In the US, usually it's the federal government. In countries like Haiti and other countries, it's usually they rely on international organizations like the World Bank and United Nations. So it's harnessing those financial resources and then making sure they go to the right places.
And improved conditions?
Improved conditions is not just getting back to normal, but making things better than they were before.
Community outreach?
Community outreach is working